So the year is 2021. We got a Fable game that's in the works. And now it actually got me excited to go back and revisit the old Fables and see why I love the game so much. I considered them a masterpiece, especially since I was only, like 16 years old back when I originally played Fable 1. And Peter Molyneux was pretty much a god in my eyes, and probably for all of us. So today I was going to be doing a full critique, full review on this, and I'm going to be taking the nostalgia goggles off for this review. So be prepared. I'm going to be comparing this to not only the Fable series, but also to current gen games. So let's get started. First off, let's start with the graphics. Graphics are actually really awesome, even today. And I was playing on the PC version of the Anniversary Fable, and I'm extremely impressed with this. I was expecting it to look like garbage, but it was just amazing. The textures, the character models, and just the overall quality of it. Like I was just extremely blown away by this. So this obviously was some sort of remaster. Here's a video from Xbox Live FR that did a comparison between the original Xbox and also the Xbox 360 Anniversary Edition. And look at the difference here. It actually holds up to today's standards, honestly. Like, it's actually worth it to come back and revisit it. Now let's talk about the gameplay. This is where it gets kind of fishy. The good part about the gameplay, especially the combat, it gives you plenty of choice on how to build your playstyle. So you can go straight up magic, you can mix and match with your melee, or you can go straight and become like Legolas basically and just be bow and arrow only if you want to. So there is plenty of ways to kind of build this, and the coolest thing about the system is that using the particular type of weapon actually gives you XP towards that style of weapon. So let's say, for example, if I use my sword a lot, I'll be getting a lot of physique power basically. So then when I go to level up, I'll have an upper hand of not only getting normal XP that I can use as a threshold to get the upgrades that I want, but also the physique part, because I've been using only sword and I land up leveling up physique style skills faster. So it's actually really cool. It almost reminds me a lot of Skyrim on how that was. So it's really awesome to see that. Now let's talk about like the bad parts about the gameplay as far as like the combat. It's very, very clunky to today's standards. Like when you compare it to games like, let's say, like The Witcher or Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Another one is Dark Souls, which you can tell that Dark Souls was very inspired by Fable. It falls flat in those aspects because you can see that those games advanced on the formula of what this combat system is. With the targeting system, it's like the tab targeting lock-on type thing. And then you also have like dodge rolling and the blocking stuff. The problem with the blocking and the dodge rolling and all that stuff in Fable is that, one, you don't have a stamina bar to worry about, so you can dodge roll like crazy. Basically you're playing Dark Souls at that point, and you have no repercussions in doing that. Also, the block system is terrible because it locks you in place to a point where you can't do anything but just sit there and block. So you'll be sitting there waiting for the mob to attack you, and usually that's the time when the mob says, you know what, I'm not going to attack you at all, and I'm just going to stand there and stare at you. So the moment that you unblock is when they'll hit you with a flurry of attacks that are completely uncalled for and have no animation time at all. So you get your ass whooped. Especially if you make the mistake like I did and put it on hard mode. Oh my God. It's like terrible because basically in the beginning of the game, you're getting one-shotted by pretty much everything, or two-shotted really. And also the mobs are bullet sponges, or should I just say sword sponges. So that's another huge annoyance to having it on hard mode. It makes the game frustrating and not necessarily challenging. You know what I mean? So the controls can really, really hinder this game completely and really make you hate the game, honestly. The only exception is probably magic. Magic does a lot more damage, and it also gives you a little bit of time to kind of like, you know, dodge out of the way, warm up your attacks, power it up, and then do the big burst, you know? So it made it super easy. Archery, on the other hand, is pretty useless in this game. Unless you're planning on comboing it with magic skills that, let's say for example, like the shooting multiple arrows ability or the slow time or stuff like that, if you're not using those abilities, then you're gonna be at a huge disadvantage, because just straight up shooting your bow just takes way too long to cast. So you're sitting there loading the arrow in, you have to hold to charge, and by the time you do all that, you could have just threw a freaking fireball at him and it would have killed him way faster. And then before you say, oh, well, this is a 20-year-old game, I mean, of course it's going to have its issues with the combat. We have to think back to a game that's even older than this one, Zelda Ocarina of Time on the Nintendo 64. That game had a similar combat system where you had the lock on, you could also just straight up attack in the direction of where you're facing. And it did it way better because of one reason. The enemies actually warm up their attacks before they swing at you. In Fable, they don't show you any hint that they're gonna attack you. They just out of nowhere do some crazy super fast attack at you, so you have no time to respond to it. So there's no way for you to think that, oh, okay, I'm gonna get ready to parry him or I'm gonna get ready to block or something. You can't do that in Fable. Like literally your option is just sit there and block or dodge out of the way and throw a fireball at him. That's pretty much all you got in Fable. So that's what overall brings down the quality of the entire game down, is the combat system. I just think it's the worst. Now let's talk about the story. One of the biggest things about what made Fable so amazing back in the day and made it so ambitious was the fact that you could choose what you wanted to do. If you wanted to be pure evil or if you wanted to be good. The problem with this whole concept is, in reality, when you look at how the main story arc plays through, it's all an illusion of choice. And the reason why I call it an illusion of choice is that in the very beginning of the game, I'm going to be ruining story right now, so if you never played Fable, then you probably want to click away from this video, but if you did, then I'm just going to explain some of the stuff from the story. One of the biggest flaws in the main storyline is, like, when you think about the very beginning of the game, where you start off as a kid, you're going through the whole life thing, bandits come in, raid the city, kill everybody, as far as you know, including your father and your sister, and the person that's doing all this is the Jack of Blades, which you encounter at the end of the game. Before your character gets killed, you're rescued by the mage, which his name is Maze in the game. The issue with all this is that by the end of the game, you realize that Maze is actually working with the Jack of Blades to try to get this whole powerful weapon that Jack wants. So this sets off a loophole right here, where it's like, why didn't Maze just take the kid, which was the goal of the bandits from the beginning, was to try to find this child, and take him straight to Jack? If they were working in cahoots, like it just doesn't make any sense for Maze to go and try to rescue the kid when he was literally right there the whole freaking time. And then also, let's go back to the illusion of choice. We didn't have any say on what we wanted to do. What if I wanted to team up with Jack and go ahead and try to help him get this weapon of mass destruction or whatever, so that he can fulfill his goal? What if I wanted to be evil that way? Or what if I wanted to join up with Maze and actually kill Jack and take the weapon for ourselves while also having an awesome partnership with a mage? You know, that would have been better as choices to kind of change up the playstyle of what this game could have been. Instead, all we got is a cookie cutter storyline that was just straight through and didn't change at all. And we were meant to be this hero to stop Jack and to stop Maze from doing all the things that they did. And this is the problem that I'm seeing with the Fable series in general. I haven't played Fable 2 yet, but I'm assuming that Fable 2 is probably going to have these same issues. But I just started playing a lot of Fable 3, and I'm seeing the same thing in that game, where the main story arc doesn't give you any choice as to go good or evil. It's literally, the game is just putting you on a straight, narrow path of becoming a good person, regardless of if you want to go evil or not. So that's like one of the biggest issues with the Fable franchise in general. It's just like they give you no real choice in the main story arcs. Now, when we talk about the side quests, I ran into one problem, especially since I was trying to do a good playthrough. And the problem with the design of this game is that they made it so that the quests don't actually tell you if it's gonna be a good quest or an evil quest. I went ahead and I started grabbing every single guild card that I saw, treating it as if it was an MMORPG. And that was a big problem, because the way the format is in Fable 1 is that if you don't pick the proper quest that's, you know, for what you're trying to achieve, good or evil, you could land up accidentally taking an evil quest and there's no way to drop the quest. The mission that you're seeing right here, which is Hidden Booty Hunt, that was actually on the same pathway of where that side quest was. So the only way for me to get to that main quest was to go through and finish that evil quest of killing the traitors, just so I can get to the main quest. So you see the issue with this part? I had no choice during this part at all. It would have been way better if they just made it so that every single story in this game, regardless of, you know, if you grab it or not, molds to the whole good and evil thing. So let's say, for example, if I grab that quest that said to kill the traitors and team up with the bandit, what if I had that guy with me? What if I took him and turned him into the guards? Or what if I could just kill the bandit himself, just so I can stop all this murdering from even happening in the first place? So I'm sure you can see the issue by now. And this is not something that was ever fixed, it seems, because even in Fable 3, as I'm playing it right now, I see the same systems where there's quests that are tailored for evil and there's quests that are tailored for good. And then within that, you can get evil points or get good points, but it's not changing the story at all. I remember how I said that I put it on hard mode. Well, I totally regretted it at the very end of the game, because I went through the most frustrating final battle sequence you could ever possibly imagine. I died 700 million times. Literally the entire game, I was like overpowered up until that point. I was able to kill everything, no problem. But the boss fight was crazy. Jack was one-shotting me with every ability. And this game basically confirmed why I hate putting hard mode on games. And it's usually because they always do the same thing. They don't actually make the enemies challenging. All they do is they just bump up their hit points to the point where they're like bullet sponges, basically. And then they also just make them one-shot or two-shot you. So it's not even fun anymore. It's just frustrating. By the way, I found a way to just cheese the boss, and I was just spamming the same fire skill over and over. I don't remember the name, but I just kept spamming that until he was dead. It was easy at that point. I definitely regret putting hard mode, because I went through hell trying to finish this. But when I finally did, I was glad for it to be over, and I uninstalled the game as fast as possible because I just didn't want to play it anymore after that. I was that frustrated. Overall, though, if I had to just think back to the time when this game first came out, this game was very, very ambitious for its time. It was doing a lot of new things. Fable was basically the inspiration behind like every current gen game. So I still think that this is still a really awesome experience if you've never played Fable before. But will I ever play it again? Hell no. But that's like mainly because I've just been spoiled by all the new gen games now that I have no reason to ever come back to it. And it's a shame, because I really thought that Fable was one of the best games ever made. And this playthrough just really changed my mind. Yep, so this is my review on Fable 1. Thanks for watching. Leave a thumbs up if you liked the video, thumbs down if you didn't. I'm excited for the next Fable, so we'll see what happens. And yeah, anyways, have a good one. I'll see you in the next one.